was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul. Now Constantinople, been a long time gone. Constantinople, now it's Turkish delight on a moonlit night. Every gal in Constantinople lives in Istanbul. Now Constantinople, so if you've a date in Constantinople, she'll be waiting in Istanbul. Even old news.
I'm gonna be honest. I've never played an Assassin's Creed game before. I mean, I never disliked them, I just never got around to it. That being said, though, if they're all like Assassin's Creed Revelations, I'm glad I've never played them.
Assassin's Creed Revelations is not just a bad game. That would just make too much sense. This game tries so hard to be a fast-paced, heart-pounding action-adventure that when it does fall flat on its ass, it falls hard. Revelations' gameplay is top-notch in terms of ingenuity and sheer freedom. This is a sandbox adventure that has you flying from building to building and through the streets of Constantinople.
Istanbul.
Revelations also has some new additions, including a tower defense minigame, as well as several side quests, along with an online multiplayer that you can play on the PlayStation Network.
The biggest problem about the gameplay, though, is that the longer you play it, the more the flaws stand out.
First, the controls. The layout is fairly simple. Left is to move, right is to aim, X to jump, square to attack, triangle to throw weapons, and circle to interact. The difficulty arises while trying to free run and do other things. In order to free run around a city, you have to hold R1 and X, but if you want to point yourself in the right direction, you need to move the right analog stick.
This ends up making the controls very awkward, because more than half the time you're just going to end up running up and down the same pole while half a dozen enemies are waiting for you to finish your spaz attack.
Second, the combat. The combat is weird in this game. Assassinations are quick and easy, often only requiring the square button. However, hand-to-hand combat is insane. Some, if not most, of the enemies cannot be taken down by brute force alone. They require you to wait and counter their attack, which involves practically standing still while 4 other guys are wailing on you at the same time.
I am a master assassin, but I must wait for you to hit me, for that is only fair.
Third, the traveling. The landscape of Revelations is huge, with complex labyrinths of city streets and rooftops. You have multiple ways of getting around the city, either running, climbing, swinging, or parachuting. Except for one detail. No matter where you go, no matter when in the game, this will be the majority of what you see.
Would it have been so hard to take the main story plots and put them in the same area? I mean, this is just a waste of animation.
While it's true that you can use underground tunnels and other means to get to other locations and other quests, this just puts a hard stop to the fast pace of the game and makes it boring and tedious.
The gameplay hinders right in between decent and crap, with about an extra 10 feet in a pool of shit. So that's why the graphics get a 4 out of 10.
Dressed up like a jester, I act the fool and mime. All the actions of those I curse and run down all the time.
Now I'm normally a patient person. This! But the graphics of Revelations are so infuriating that I just can't let them go.
The landscapes are beautiful, showing the busy city streets of Constantinople,
Istanbul,
along with other locations such as dungeons, underground temples, and entire other cities. The cutscenes are downright beautiful. The opening and closing scenes have some of the best animation I've ever seen.
The classic running, jumping, and climbing motifs are always fun, but there's something kind of familiar about them.
Must be swift as the coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon, with all the strength of raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon.
Here's the main problem. Half of the time, you just can't see anything. Almost any time you're underground or in a dark place, it is completely dark, hindering your vision.
It's as though the game designers just wanted to add that extra little bit of challenge by just, making you play blindfolded.
And the best part about it, you can actually play this game in 3D.
Really? 3D? You're gonna allow me the luxury of seeing total darkness in the third dimension? Joy. These graphics suck. I mean, as good as the cutscenes are, you just can't get away with not being able to see anything. The graphics get a 3 out of 10, just for that extra dimension.
Mysterious as the dark side of the moon.
story of Assassin's Creed Revelations is a prime example of how not to tell a compelling story. You play Desmond Miles, the main protagonist, who wakes up stuck in the Animus, a device that allows him to relive the memories of his genetic past. The Animus puts Desmond in the life of Ezio Auditore da Firenze, the protagonist of Assassin's Creed 2. Set in 1511, Ezio travels to Constantinople, Istanbul, in order to locate the Masyaf keys, artifacts left by Altair, the first Assassin's Creed assassin.
So you play Desmond, who's reliving the memory of Ezio, who's reliving the memory of Altair, who's trying to change the future, but you're already in the future and you're talking.
His journey gets him involved with the Assassin's Guild of Constantinople, as well as an Italian, I'm not sure what she does, but she's the love interest.
I'm gonna call it, she's the damsel in distress.
Sophia!
The main problem with the story is the pacing. Revelations tends to bookend itself, putting the bulk of the narrative at the beginning and the ending.
Alright, storytelling 101. If you want to have a compelling narrative, you have to spread it out through the entire game, or else the player becomes disinterested. If you don't do that, I'm going to lose interest, and I'm not going to play a goddamn game. So, I would give this story a 0, but I actually like the content of the story.
The story is a heart-wrenching tale of revenge, redemption, and destiny. If it were told any better, then it would be a much better game. That being said, the narrative itself barely makes up for the poor pacing. Because the actual content of the story is more compelling than the way it's told, the story gets a 7 out of 10.
Assassin's Creed Revelations is not a bad game. Kind of. It's kind of like that asshole friend that everyone has that says, sure, I can do that, I'm just lazy. It's trying so hard to be a good game, and it has such potential, but every time it misses the mark, it hits the ground that much harder. And that's the only reason that I have to give Assassin's Creed Revelations a 4.6 out of 10.
You must be swift as a coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon, with all the strength of a raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon.
Istanbul. Yet another name for this city.